berjumpa lagi. Welcome to ASEAN Today. I'm Raissa Chentami of the Indonesia channel in Jakarta.
So today, I'm Dennis Reinhard in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and this is your weekly look at the dynamic Southeast Asia region. ASEAN's challenge in 2021 to continue the fight against COVID-19, the virus that has killed more than 1.5 million people around the world.
This past year, governments throughout the region have tried experimental and innovative approaches to combat the pandemic with mixed results. Indonesia has spent most of the pandemic in the top spot for coronavirus cases in Southeast Asia. The government has continued to ease gathering and travel restrictions despite rapidly increasing case numbers and deaths. But local leaders have begun to reimpose lockdowns, most notably here in Jakarta, where cases have not declined. Indonesia received its first shipment of COVID-19 vaccine from China on December 6th as the government prepares for a mass inoculation program. Vietnam has been the region's biggest success story. Despite limited resources and a busy border with China, Vietnam managed to contain the pandemic by halting travel with its neighbor early on. A second wave spread from the city of Da Nang at the end of July. But the government's response was swift, getting the virus back under control by early September. Leaders have not been shy to reimpose restrictions when needed since then. Laos was the last ASEAN member to report a COVID-19 infection. Geography and demographics may have been important factors as to how the country avoided a major outbreak. To boost its economy, Laos has already resumed travel to several countries in Southeast Asia and encouraged domestic tourism. The Philippines is second only to Indonesia for the most officially reported cases in Southeast Asia. Since the government lifted most restrictions in June, a new surge in cases has overwhelmed the public health system and further damaged the economy. Quarantines have since been reintroduced throughout the country and testing has steadily increased. Protests against job losses and food shortages have cropped up across the country even as the government cracks down on dissent. And Singapore initially managed to contain the virus through widespread testing, comprehensive contact tracing, and mandatory quarantines. But the city-state suffered a sharp increase in cases linked to foreign workers' dormitories in late September. The government has actively pursued Green Lane and travel corridor reopenings with its neighbors for essential and business travel.
Despite weak health infrastructure, Cambodia's location may have played a role in its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Here in Cambodia, the government proceeded with plans to reopen the economy, having already reopened places of worship, schools, and resumed flights. But after an outbreak of imported cases in late November and the country's first case of community spread in December, Cambodia has reimposed some travel and gathering restrictions. Prevention efforts in Brunei have been successful for the most part. The country has begun opening travel corridors with other countries in Southeast Asia. Schools and places of worship have been opened since July, while businesses and restaurants have reopened gradually. Malaysia's initial response to the outbreak was not very aggressive and complicated by an abrupt change in government early in the year. Malaysia saw few cases in the early months, but soon after, the government was forced to reimpose nationwide restrictions on public movement in mid-March. Those were gradually relaxed as the virus was brought under control. But unrestricted campaigning in September's Sabah state election caused Malaysia's largest spike in coronavirus cases to date, which the government has yet to effectively contain. Myanmar maintained some of the region's lowest case counts until August, but the rate of infections accelerated quickly over the past several months due to an outbreak in Rakhine State and the holding of national elections on November 8. Thailand confirmed its first case of COVID-19 on January 13, becoming the first country outside of China to do so. Numbers remained low until March when the country began to see widespread community infections. Since then, Thailand implemented lockdowns, contact tracing rollout, and a wide embrace of mask wearing. But the country is projected to suffer the worst economic consequences in the region due to its overwhelming dependence on tourism and exports. Global defense leaders met in an important virtual summit to coordinate their response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Among the participants at the 10th ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting plus in Vietnam on December 10th were the leaders from the US, China, and Japan. The territorial fight in the South China Sea was again raised in this meeting. The ministers also reaffirmed their commitment to work closely together to support public health efforts, as well as to maintain the momentum of bilateral and multilateral cooperation initiatives amid the pandemic.
A cabinet shakeup triggered by the arrest of 2 ministers on graft allegations brought 6 new faces to the administration of President Joko Widodo. Appointed on December 22nd as tourism minister was former presidential election rival and Indonesia channel host Sandiaga Uno. Banker Budi Gunadi Sadikin was named health minister, a questionable choice in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Heavy rains in early December caused severe and deadly floods and landslides in the Philippines. Nearly 10,000 people were evacuated from their homes in the northern eastern Philippines as heavy rain on December 20th across the country left at least 9 people dead. 6 of the victims drowned in floods in the southern provinces of Agusan del Sur and Surigao del Sur. 2 people were killed in a landslide in the eastern province of Leyte, while another fatality was reported in the Davao sub-region. The floods and landslides displaced more than 36,000 residents, causing 110 million pesos or $2.3 million in infrastructure damage.
Malaysia's bilateral trade with the region's superpower grew despite the coronavirus threat. ASEAN Today's Karina Tasha reports on why business with China wasn't hurt.
The trade bomb between China and Malaysia came amid a global pandemic that speaks to the opportunities that are possible in a post-COVID world. Bilateral trade between China and Malaysia rose 3.5% year-on-year to hit $124 billion in the first 10 months of 2020. One small reason? There's durians on display at a promotional event in Beijing, where the export from Malaysia called Musang King was a popular product.
There's like a 5-star here, right? So this shows a Musang King. It helps you to open the fruit up. So you take a chopper and open it.
So this is a natural crack?
This is a natural crack. Yeah. So that's how you tell Musang King from other varieties of durians.
The event gathered importers, consumers, and popular social media figures.
We originally started to sell durian paste and durian pulp since 2011. And last year, compared to the previous year, the sales increased by about 300%. We were given permission to import whole fruit Musang King durians from June of last year.
Durian is just one of the agricultural products contributing to increased China-Malaysian trade.
Well, the first thing that I like to mention is that politically, the relations have grown stronger as a result of the pandemic because we helped each other out. So that has created a very positive momentum moving forward. And in terms of trade, I suspect that it will get better this year. And next year, I think it's going to get even better as both of our economies recover.
China remains Malaysia's largest trading partner, followed by Singapore and the United States. Karina Tasha for ASEAN Today.
More ASEAN Today is coming up shortly.
An exclusive conversation on ASEAN prospects in the car industry. Former Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn in the hot seat next. You're watching ASEAN Today. I'm Dennis Reinhard in Phnom Penh.
And I'm Raissa Chentami in Jakarta. The man who saved the Nissan car company from falling in 1999 is now a fugitive from justice after escaping Japan in late 2019. Carlos Ghosn is accused of financial crimes but swears his innocence. In an exclusive talk with ASEAN Today's Dalton Tandanaka, Ghosn assessed Southeast Asia's future in the auto industry.
You know, it's hard to gauge its health because of the raging coronavirus pandemic. Nissan in particular has seen its fortunes roll down, and that was even before COVID-19.
Yeah, well, let me tell you that
unfortunately, it's not only Nissan. It's Nissan, Mitsubishi, and Renault, the three of them. They were derailed. They derailed before even COVID-19. COVID-19 came way after. And how do you see that? Because obviously the decrease of the elimination of profits, the losses that they are doing, much bigger and wider than what most of the industry is doing. Now, about the industry is going through a tough period now. It reminds me what we have been through after the financial crisis in 2008, 2009. But the industry will prevail because obviously, as you know, mobility is one of the basic needs in human life. And mobility is not going to disappear. On the contrary, it's going to continue to increase, particularly individual mobility, autonomous mobility. So where this industry is heading is very clear. More electric cars, more autonomous cars, more software. The car is going to become a place where you can do many things. Not everybody's going to prevail because now it's a time for vision. It's a time for bold bets on technology, for making grounded choices, and the companies which don't have this kind of leadership are just going to disappear. They're going to go to the cemetery of the car industry. For me, the winners are clear. I'm seeing clearly some people going into this direction. Unfortunately, my previous company are not heading into this direction.
Well, let's talk about electric cars. You mentioned that. You've been bullish on electric cars, seeing the need long before others, maybe you and Elon Musk. What is your projection for serious consumer penetration?
Oh, that means without any doubt that the percentage of electric car in the world will continue growing. This is the technology which is going to become, in my opinion, slowly but surely the dominant technology in the car industry for the next 10 to 20 years. Hydrogen may become an option, but it's not for the moment. It's still too expensive, still difficult to put in action and in execution. So you can expect more and more electricity or pure electric car or hybrid or heavily hybrid car. And there is another also direction, which is the autonomy of the car. That means more autonomous car with a lot of functionality which are being taken care of directly by the car without your intervention.
One last question in this segment about the regional industry. As you know, and why we met, Nissan builds cars here in Indonesia, Thailand, and other ASEAN countries. Nissan just announced it's ending Datsun production, which is the first time we met when you announced the Datsun rollout here. What's your forecast for regional production?
No, in general, I think the regional production is going to increase for a very simple reason. Is, as you know, the level of motorization in Indonesia and in the southeast of Asia is very low. And this is going to only go up. But that doesn't mean that it's going to increase for all car companies. Again, I think the mediocre management is going to lead to mediocre results. And unfortunately, that's what we are seeing today. And in Indonesia, you have the presence of Nissan and Mitsubishi, and I'm not very optimistic about their prospect because of the mediocre management. As you know, whenever you have mediocre management, the people who pay the consequence of mediocre management are the workers. These are the first victims of mediocre management. But I think Indonesia as a car market has a lot of potential. I've been saying this, we have been investing in Indonesia many times, but it requires also skillful management. It requires a certain vision. It requires adaptation of the product to the needs of the Indonesian market. And not a lot of companies are doing that. But those who are going to do that will prevail.
Ghosn said he hopes to return to Japan someday when the legal case is resolved. More ASEAN Today is coming up shortly.
We head to Thailand. That's where the once bustling travel hotspot is quieter this year.
This is ASEAN Today.
And we are coming to you this week from Jakarta and Phnom Penh with the purpose of helping people find suitable job positions. Job fairs in the Philippines provide the opportunity for job seekers to engage with entrepreneurs. As ASEAN Today's Fazul Adsim reports, financial assistance is also provided to the youth to start their business.
More than 21,000 local and overseas jobs were provided at a series of online job fairs held by the Philippines Department of Labor and Employment from December 4th to the 11th. The event attracted more than 600 domestic enterprises and 16 recruitment agencies.
We have some social protection programs for those who have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Due to COVID-19, not only have job seekers in the Philippines been affected, but Filipinos working in other parts of the world. In 2019, overseas Filipino workers remitted $33 billion to the Philippines. That accounted for 10% of the country's gross domestic product. But due to the pandemic, strict travel restrictions were issued by many countries, forcing many workers to return home because of unemployment. To ease the pressure brought on by the epidemic and to promote the country's economic recovery, the government is using job fairs to work with multiple departments to find positions in other countries such as China.
Some of the Chinese companies present in the Philippines are also posting their vacancies already, particularly in the construction sector. Now, we are happy to note that they are working with us to advertise their need for Filipino workers in the construction sector, particularly for the bridge projects.
The labor pool is big. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 350,000 Filipinos have returned home jobless since May. Fauzul Azim for ASEAN Today.
Here are several events on the ASEAN calendar. Thailand's Bosang Umbrella and Sangkaping Crafts Festival will take place in Chiang Mai from January 15th to the 17th. Boat races, street dancing and floating parades will be part of the Pangisdan Festival in Navora City, Philippines on January 16th. And Singapore Art Week will take place from January 22nd to the 30th in Riverside. The popular travel hotspot Thailand is quieter this year. In particular, small businesses around the country's tourism attractions are suffering from the absence of foreign visitors due to the COVID-19 pandemic. ASEAN Today's Aisha Nadira reports.
Yaowarat Road in Bangkok's Chinatown has always been a must-see place for travelers to look for delicious street food and souvenirs. The area is popular among the locals for its gold shops. Businesses here are gradually recovering to normal trade, an area where young people meet with friends for food and older generations select gold necklaces and bracelets to treat themselves after a difficult year.
ผลกระทบครับได้รับผลกระทบจากที่ร้านประมาณ 70% ค่ะจากรายได้เพราะว่าร้านเราส่วนใหญ่รายได้มาจากคนฮ่องกงกับคนจีนครับแต่ทีเนี้ยพอไม่มีคนจีนกับคนฮ่องกงเข้ามาเพราะว่าปิดประเทศใช่ไหมครับก็เลยไม่มีรายได้เข้ามาจากที่ร้านก็กระทบไปเยอะ
The Land of Smiles has successfully contained the coronavirus compared with other countries, but the lack of foreign visitors is a devastating blow to the economy. Tourism is a pillar of Thailand's economy, accounting for 12% of its gross domestic product. China was the largest source of tourists before the pandemic. In 2019, 11 million Chinese visited Thailand, contributing $17 billion in revenue.
ปกติยอดขายก็จะอยู่ที่ประมาณ 20,000 หรือว่าอยู่ที่ 12,000 บาท แต่ตอนนี้ยอดขายตกลงมาเหลือประมาณวันละ 6,000 ถึง 8,000 บาทนะครับเพราะว่าเนื่องจากโควิดทำให้ไม่มีนักท่องเที่ยวมาใช้จ่ายแล้วก็คนไทยมีการปรับตัวโดยการที่ออกมาทานข้าวนอกบ้านน้อยลงทำให้ยอดขายของสตรีทฟู้ดในเมืองไทยเนี่ยตกลงครับ
Thailand is betting on a revival in tourism to help it exit a recession. Foreign tourist arrivals generated more than $60 billion in revenue from 40 million visitors in 2019. Aisha Nadira for ASEAN Today.
We like hearing from you throughout the ASEAN region and the world. Ayla posted this on Instagram. ASEAN will grow bigger and better after this pandemic. That is what everyone hopes, Ayla. And all of our episodes are posted on YouTube, so check us out there if you can't find us on your local TV channel. Then let us know what you're thinking or what you want to see on the program. Email us at aseantodaytv@gmail.com. Post something on our Facebook page or tweet us at ASEAN Today TV. Music fans following health protocols in Singapore were treated to their first pop concert in some time.
That's right, and the live audience were more than happy to comply. Everyone in the audience had to have a negative antigen rapid or PCR test result before they were allowed into the venue on December 18th. Then they enjoyed singers like Benjamin Keng, Cesari, Narelle, Lin Ying, and rapper The Lion City Boy. Concert goers were seated in groups of up to 5, and intermingling between groups was not allowed. Single ticket holders were also seated at a safe distance from others. The antigen rapid tests were given as part of the ticket price. Looks like fun. And that's ASEAN Today for this week. I'm Raissa Chentami of the Indonesia channel in Jakarta.
And I'm Dennis Reinhard in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Thank you for watching, and please join us again next time for ASEAN Today.